Good afternoon. It is 2 p.m. The meeting will come to order. We have all of our trustees. We have our treasurer. We have our director. We have our chief admin officer, our marketing communications manager, and I'm expecting counsel at some point during the meeting. And we have a quorum. So we'll begin with our pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, number 4 on the agenda for today is public comment. Speakers will state their name and community and speak for no more than 3 minutes. Persons addressing the board are expected to observe a level of civility and decorum appropriate for a public meeting. No public attacks or disruptions from their audience members will be tolerated. I have 2 persons signed up for today. First person on the list here is Ron Hartman.
Good afternoon, trustees. I'd like to read this, if I may. This library board represents a county that is very Republican and very conservative, especially since it does not include the city of Coeur d'Alene. Conservative Republicans do not vote for tax increases. President Trump ran on tax cuts, no tax on overtime, no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security. President George H.W. Bush ran on read my lips, no new taxes. The minority of people that are supporting a library property tax increase should not have a problem with the following options before you consider a property tax increase. 1, annual fee on all library cards. Presently, we pay fees for driver's licenses, license plates, boat stickers, boat launch stickers, fishing and hunting licenses, building permits, parking, etc. 2, fee on late book returns. 3, fee on field trips. 4, fee on checkout, crock pot, metal detectors, etc. If this program still exists, don't know. Also, you need to have a written library scope. The scope of what the library provides. Anything that is outside of the scope needs to be eliminated and cut from the budget. A good example would be to eliminate field trips, especially since the county Parks and Recreation Department offers field trips. Parks and Recreation Department is far more qualified to do field trips than a library. If it still exists, eliminating checking out crock pots, metal detectors, or anything else, people can go to Goodwill for these items. Libraries are about books, not crock pots. Also, you have 2 largest savings accounts, which shows you have taken too much money from taxpayers. Therefore, I am requesting you reduce our property taxes by 1% this coming year. This could win you a large number of votes when you are up for re-election. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Michelle Lippert.
Good afternoon, Michelle Lippert, Post Falls. As you prepare to finalize the budget, I'd like to draw your attention to the recently completed community survey. 88% of the respondents asked the district to take a 2% tax increase. Taxing districts are legally permitted to take up to a 3% increase each year. However, a 3% option was not included in the survey. Why was that option omitted? And how many respondents might have chosen 3% if that legally available option had been presented? The survey also makes it clear that library collections are a priority for the community. 96% of the respondents identified books and digital materials as a service that matters most to their household. Yet the proposed budget includes only $305,000 for books and electronic materials. In fiscal year 2023, that amount was approximately $470,000. Your budget is a decrease of about 35%. The annual budget shows a steady decline in funding for the collection since 2023. Our community is growing and the demands for library services is growing with it. You would expect an investment in the collection to keep pace with growth, not continue to decline. The survey provides a clear message from the community. Books and digital materials matter. Please listen to the community and make the library collection a budget priority. Thank you.
Thank you. Is anyone else that did not, that wish to speak that did not sign up? Everyone's going twice. Okay, that concludes the public comment portion of today's agenda. Now move on to the consent agenda. So item number 5 on our list here. Anyone have any here comments or questions regarding the consent agenda? I'm assuming everyone had an opportunity to review it. Okay, any changes, discussion? No? Very good. Okay, well, hearing none and without objection, the consent agenda is hereby accepted. Next item on the agenda, we have, right here, the commentary on it's not on the agenda. The board was received, at least myself included, an email from staff indicating that we were not going to be receiving packets in the mail. Now, it's possibly that was a cost-cutting measure, I don't know, but I will need a packet mailed to me from here on out, as we always have. I can't speak for the other trustees. If you want to talk about it for a minute, you can mention it, but I need mine to make annotations on it. I get large items like a big fat budget spreadsheet that doesn't fit in my printer. And other things coming out on the color, well, I have a color printer, but so I will require a board packet in the mail going forward or continue as in past. Any other trustees have comments on that? I don't, you can do what you want to do on it, but no, trustee LaPlante.
I'm fine getting it digitally, but I was concerned because I don't have a color printer. As long as I get the hard copy here at the meeting, I'm fine, because I can print out and make annotations on my own sheets that just, and the small sheet is just small writing, so I can do it myself.
Okay, very good. Okay, well, that's just, I guess I'm the only one that needs a printed copy, please. Thank you. Trustee Addison, please.
I would like a printed copy also because it's hard for me to read by a pencil in my hand.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. All right, going to the next item on the agenda today is the, let's see here, Community Library Network financial statements. Mine's green, pigment, but no hard copies. I had just at least to place one thing, Joyce, the director, and I probably asked this question before, I don't want to make sure I answer. The call here, line item number, our general ledger number 625 and also 635. Both had very large amounts of money that was approved for the budget for this fiscal year. And the first item is software, which is 625. And we've only spent 60% of $147,000. And then the other one was telecom, which is GL number 635. We allotted almost $80,000 and we've only We spent none. We spent less than what we received. Is there, can I get an update or a refresh on that, please?
Telecom
Because
is,
we're getting, I'm sorry, because we're getting very close to the end of the year. We have August and September, so I don't know if we're gonna get a Johnny bill this month or next.
yeah, so telecom is the E-rate thing we've talked about many
Right.
times, where we get the invoice from Pat Green and they receive the E-rate, so that's why it's a negative, because depending on what the invoice is, it can actually be a credit, because they're the ones handling the reimbursement, so that's why you see negatives.
So we won't be spending that money for that? We are getting reimbursed for that?
Yeah, so E-rate is, like I said, right, it's 75% state, and then there's like 20 or 70, 25, sorry, federal, and then 25% state, but 100% reimbursement on the, through the E-rate program.
Okay.
We need to put the money in there because that's what it costs us, but it gets reimbursed through the funding E-rate. Yeah, so it has to sit in the budget as the expense that it's going to be. And as you remember, we went through the whole E-rate process with, so that's what telecom refers to.
Okay,
Software, if you notice the jump, if you're referring to the jump between previous years and this year, that's because we were part of a consortium. This is the first year we're not. So we used to spend, you can't really compare previous years' budgets before 2024, 25, when this dissolution happened, because we were paying CIN a whole bunch of money for stuff, right? So software is one of those things. We used to pay software fees for COHA, the ILS, to the consortium. Now we don't. So that's why there's a change there. So the software budget went up because of that. But most of the software line is our annual invoices for software products. So we don't anticipate, the projected year end for software is meant to zero. We're not supposed to be going, it's just, you get an annual fee for COHA, an annual fee for Canva, an annual fee for iSolve, various software programs that we use.
well, I'm not questioning the amount that we budgeted for, but we spent $89,000 out of $147,000. Are we expecting to be invoicing or expending the rest of that money?
Yes, we are
This-
expecting
this-
to
this
zero.
fiscal year?
Projected year end, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
it
you.
is, it's a relatively straightforward budget line because it's annual type invoices for software licenses.
Okay, per se. Trustee Olson.
Yeah, and E-rate is never guaranteed, so it's something that we do have to budget for every year. That's right.
Okay. Trustee Plus.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions, and it ties in with what's on the budget too, I noticed it. 704, 705, library equipment. We've, budgeted for 50,000 for one, and we've only spent 1,400 and 15,000, and I guess we sold something because it's negative on the library equipment. And then on the budget, it's the same thing. It's, last year they showed 15,000, but now we're only budgeting 5,000 or thinking, I guess. What has happened with library equipment? Back with the previous library director, that was got to get everything updated to Windows 11, and we got to get all the new equipment, and we got to stay on schedule. But we neglecting something, or did we get caught up so much we're good?
I don't know, so on previous budgets, library equipment under $2,500 was a single line, and it was to the tune of 80,000 or something like that. And then when I got here, we broke it out so that, because I knew, or we knew internally, that of that 80,000, the biggest chunk was going to IT, right? And there's a small chunk going to facilities and a small chunk going to just administrative stuff. So we knew that was going on behind the scenes. So the breakout to the three different categories is for your benefit to see the transparency there. But basically, IT is the biggest chunk. That's going to be where my IT guy checks his inventory, sees what the lifespan is on the computers throughout the network, and then makes those purchases. So those are legitimately equipment purchases under $2,500 for IT. Facilities the same. if there are changes, again, I'm not looking at the future budget in this part of the agenda, but, if there's changes to that, it's just us realizing that the actuals, the way it's actually being spent, is different than what's on the sheet. So like the 50,000, for the IT is kind of a standard, is a given. We will definitely, that's for sure. The, facilities, and then the remaining one, which is more admin, is kind of more fluid. It's more, because we won't need something every year per se, right? But 100%, the IT is always replenishing the equipment that dies off, you know, on a cyclical basis. So that one is that one is pretty solid. But there is fluidity or ability to look at the other two. But again, it used to always be just one. Now it's broken out into three.
So my question is more, all the computers out here and on the floor out in the library, I thought that was part of this, and we were always replacing a third of them every 3 years.
Yeah, that's 704. That is 704.
Are we gonna spend more money and get up to 50,000
Yes.
doing that? We just haven't done it yet.
Yeah, actually, I think we have a current invoice, which will be on the next one, yeah. And usually my IT will do it in the last quarter of the fiscal year. I just, you know. That one will be pretty, the pattern will be obvious as we move forward. It's always gonna be a certain time of the year where you replenish the equipment.
You still want it? Go ahead.
I had another one. I was gonna let somebody else go if they wanted, but 760 telephone. We're over budget. We budgeted 19,000. Isn't this the Intermax contract that we have for VoIP phones?
Yes, it is.
And why are we over budget? And then I see it kind of even more on next year's budget is.
Yeah.
So didn't we have a contract or?
Well, I think it's, so usually when we're projecting the future budget, we're going off of actuals, average actual over the last few years. So the new budget is meant to reflect the fact that this rate that we're spending in that line is more accurately going to hit that higher number, right? So we're over because we're getting these, and I can't answer, I'm not sure whether there was a change in it, like whether, I don't think it's a contract, the way like E-rate is, like locked in, you know, and we're getting the utility of telephone invoices, and we're seeing the pattern that it's costing more. And so Verizon, Intermax, yeah. So there's a variety of things in there, but the invoices we're getting are higher, and that's why we're over. And then the next budget is meant to reflect that, so that we won't be over.
But I know that was one thing, Intermax, I asked about it, but it was a fixed contract for 5 years or something, and we couldn't do anything about it.
Okay, so this isn't about Intermax. Intermax is a contract that is the same as about Verizon. The changes in rates that we're getting through Verizon. Yeah, cell phones and hotspots. There are only a handful of staff with work cell phones that run on Verizon, and then there's a handful of hotspots that also do that. So that's the fluctuating.
When will the Intermax contract come up for bid again, and will we be able to review it?
I can't answer that, but I can answer that when it does come up, you will be able to review that.
Okay.
I understand one line item going a little above budget, but overall it appears our expenses are below budget so far. So that's a good news. Certain things have balanced out. Other questions regarding I'll call it this portion of the financial statements, the budget versus actual? If it's, in case of the separate discussion on the,
Yeah, questions on that?
the net position, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Well, just trustee Vice President, you.
Are we looking at alternatives to Verizon if the price is going up? Since there are a lot of different cell phone companies these days with different price structures.
Yes, I certainly wouldn't rule that out. I mean, something to talk about with IT. Yeah, it's not,
Sure.
we're not locked into it, it's
More
just,
and more the discount cell phone companies kind of offer the same service for lower.
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, moving on to the net position, statement of net position. So within the financials reports. Right, trustee Pash?
Just a clarification, we got, I guess on the previous sheet, line 400, we got almost 1.8 million from the county for the second half taxes. I assume that went into Mountain West Bank, you got 1.557 million. And you probably paid some of that out, but I just wondered where it went, because I didn't see any change in the ICS from last.
It should land in the sweep 110. 100 is where we paid out of. It doesn't usually have that amount, and it's just the timing of the reception of it and the deposit. Nor, if you look back, normally the 100 is a much smaller number, because that's just where we're paying out of. But the sweep 110 is where tax revenue resides.
So it'll, that extra will move in, or maybe already has moved into ICS.
Yeah.
Yes, that's,
And then I'll bring it up later on the budget. I'll hand out a sheet, but I believe with this Mountain West balance and the ICS balance and subtract off ARF and emergency fund, which is 2 months. If I subtract all that off, I'll show you in the handout sheet that and then I take out August through January, which would be 3 million. It will have about 1.23 million in the ICS at the end of January before the next taxes come in. So I'll hand this out, but anyway, I guess maybe ask for verification, but I think we have more than enough money in our statements.
Any other questions, comments regarding the financial statements? Entertain a motion to accept the financial statements for the period ending July 31st, 2026.
So moved.
It's been moved to accept the financial statements for the period ending July 31st, 2026. All those in favor say aye.
Hi.
Aye. Ayes have it. The financial reports are hereby approved, accepted. And now move on to the program department report. That's we usually bring in people from different departments where we go on a tour to different libraries. And I was given 2 names today, Karen Schmidt and Marie Shockley. The first one, Karen does youth programming and Marie does adult programming. I don't know who's speaking first or second, and I know we have a digital something up here, so please go ahead.
I haven't used this before, so I'm not sure. So I'm Marie, I'm the adult programming manager. Those of you who've been here for a few years, we've met before. Those of you who are newer, hi. So typically I am super into stats and numbers. So you'd see a lot of evidence, the number of how we're kind of going towards our strategic plan goals. But because this past year we've been in transition between strategic plans, I thought I'd take the opportunity to kind of just dive into one program that we did this year that I'm really excited about. But I am going to start with a few numbers because I like numbers, right? So this is just the year in review really quick from October to July. So we haven't actually lived August and September yet. Across our 7 locations, we have 749 adult programs with 7,016 attendees. So that's, if you're doing the math, an average of 9.5 people per program. Over the last 3 years, we have had a general upward trend in attendance, but this last year has been kind of a leap. So I think in 2024, we had like 7.3, and then 2025, we had 7.5. Don't trust me exactly on those numbers, but they're right around there. And then this year we had 9.5, so it's a huge leap, and I'm going to kind of credit this to the change in our staffing for adult programming. We moved from kind of a decentralized department, and because you guys signed off on those programs, positions, we now have dedicated staff who we're hiring specifically for programming, and they have time to dedicate to really intentional plans and events. So thank you guys for signing off on that. Next, we have just the average cost, if you're looking at those numbers. This is just the $18,000 budget of this year, divided by that attendance number. So this doesn't include any external funding, the grants, donations, those kind of things. So it's an iffy number to keep in your head, but it will also go down because we've already bought stuff for August and September, but we haven't had the attendees yet. So just based on the average attendance in August and September, it'll be around 225 once the year finishes. Adults do cost more than kids. So you'll see that when she comes up and presents, because adults actually expect quality stuff. The frustration of my life, but they do. So that's about what we've averaged. The event that I was talking about this year, we initiated a local author celebration. This was our first annual one. We held it at the Hayden location in November, but all of our staff, including some of the young youth services, participated in the event because we did have some youth-oriented authors as well, so we tried to get a little bit of everybody. Essentially, we have a lot of authors who approach us across the year, local authors, and they're like, have an event, invite me to read my book. But we've noticed that nobody attends those programs because they don't know that author. So, you know, really think about it. Are you going to put your shoes on and drive all the way to the library to see an author you've never heard of and don't know if you like or don't like or anything? So we're really contemplating over the past year, like how can we promote these authors, these local authors who are putting all this time and effort into this work and really connect our readers to these authors. So this is kind of the solution we came up with, that we would hold a large event with 20 different authors. We had all day or all afternoon for this. We did panel discussions and excerpt readings so people could learn about the authors in a much more open way. It was pretty exciting. We had 258 attendees to this first event, which is a great number for adult programming and just for an unknown event that's never been held before. So you can see, I just grabbed some pictures. This is our keynote speaker on the right. We had Carla Pepperzak. If you're local, you may have heard the name before. There's a school named after her in Japan somewhere, but she's a Dutch resistance fighter and Holocaust survivor from who now lives in Spokane. She wrote a couple memoirs about her experience and her post-Holocaust experience, what she did after that. So we were very excited to get her. She was definitely a big draw for the program. And then people filtered into all the other authors, of course. See what else. So this afterwards, because it was our first event of this type, we gathered a lot of feedback from the authors. We gathered a lot of feedback from the public. This is just like a few samples. Of course, it's the positive stuff because that's why we're here. But it was all really great. We got a lot of ideas from people about little things that they thought could have gone better or worse, or everything. And we're taking it, and we'll be hosting the program again December 5th this year. And you all are absolutely invited. I would love to see you there. And then youth services will take over.
So I'm Karen Schmidt. I'm the programming manager for the Community Library Network. And I am also going to start a year review for you. So over the last year, we have held 1,123 programs. We've had 45,166 attendees at those programs. So that's an average of 40 attendees per program, or an average of 66 cents per attendee. I'm going to talk today a little bit about one of our new initiatives, which is Kindergarten Boot Camp. And it is a community library network initiative designed to help children and families prepare for kindergarten readiness. So Kindergarten Boot Camp is funded through a grant from the Idaho Commission for Libraries, and it provides parents and caregivers with activities based on the developmental stages to help children enter kindergarten ready to learn. And activities focus on everything from fine motor development to early numeracy to parent support strategies. Boot Camp enhances our traditional story times that we do at each of our libraries by increasing awareness of kindergarten readiness, connecting families with library resources and library cards, providing themed play and learn activities aligned with the Idaho Early Learning e-guidelines, offering parent tips and take-home resources, and also collaborating with our community partners, serving young children and our families. We are in the midst of this one, but winding down. So summer programming is one of our biggest programs throughout the year. And it provides critical learning, enrichment, and engagement opportunities for children and families during the months when school is not in session. Libraries help address summer learning loss by offering literacy, STEM, and hands-on learning experiences in a free and accessible environment. Programs encourage reading and lifelong learning while supporting the developmental needs of children and our teens. Research and library practice indicate that early literacy and learning experiences can positively influence academic success, making summer programming an important component of the library's educational mission. Summer programs also provide equitable access to educational and recreational opportunities for those families who may face financial, transportation, or other barriers to participation. Library program helps connect families with community resources, supports healthy development, and reinforces the library as a trusted community hub. These three examples showcase just a few of the more than 2,000 programs that we offered this year. Every program that we offer creates a welcoming place to learn, listen, and engage. Hands-on experiences that inspire curiosity and discovery. It builds connections between presenters, participants, and community members. And it strengthens the library's impact on the communities that we serve. So together, these experiences demonstrate how library programming transforms lives, brings our community together, and fulfills the library mission of We Empower Discovery. Thank you.
As this is where the trustees get a chance to ask questions, but thank you both. Trustee Plus.
Nice to see, especially the local authors. I wondered, I didn't know we had so many, but
It was surprising, yeah.
yeah, the library should be a place for people to find out about it. I got two questions for both of you. How do you advertise like the local author event or some of the new things? And then what I'm really keen on is, do you have any metrics on increased library attendance, increased number of visits, increased card holders, or number of books checked out? Is there anything showing these programs help increase people reading?
All right, so advertising wise, so for example, the local author event, we have, of course, like in-house flyers, we have the magazine, and we have our website, calendar, social media. For this like special event, we also sent a blurb to the local newspapers, including the Inlander and the Coeur d'Alene Press. I'm not sure if marketing added a couple other ones. And I think what else? I think that was it for that event specifically. I'd say most events, we just do in-house flyers and a website and social media. And we use releases to the newspapers for very special events.
And yes, so for youth programming, we work with our community partners. So Early Head Start and Head Start, United Way, area churches. Our smaller communities have great relationships with their businesses, and many of them will often put up flyers or have our magazine available for people. We work with the schools to get the information out. One of the big pieces for us is word of mouth. So when people come in, they tell their friends, they tell their cousins, and that's how they come. And we find that a lot of people make great relationships coming to the library and getting to know each other. So it's really important for us to make those community connections. And we like to, so.
Definitely, that reminded me of some wonderful changes we're making for this year in our new event. We reached out to a local publishing house and a couple different writers leagues and writers guilds. So we're including them to get the word out more. So again, relationships with the public and community. The second question, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I do remember specifically for the author event, we had 258 people and we had the door count. So you could see the week before a Saturday, typical Saturday door count. And you could see that it did indeed double the numbers of people through the door that day. Like I said, I don't have those in front of me to show you, but I remember looking at that and being super excited.
There is a correlation between program attendance and circulation. I don't have those numbers. We can help with our director to get those, but we'd be happy to.
Yeah, that was a similar question I had once is, do programs bring new patrons? And I know it's hard to measure. I told, it was the last month we had a meeting talking about programs for a little while, and it's difficult to put a dollar sign on marketing and saying what you did here and what were the results. I realize it's difficult to turn into numbers. And thank you from the Harris. I don't know if you folks did it, but we did have a discussion on where some of our funding was going for programs last month, but so a few folks were the ones helping put that together. Appreciate that last time. I have a question. While the cost per attendee appears to be incredibly small, though, that does not include, I assume, staff cost, meaning their
Correct.
salaries
That is
obviously
just the
involved.
budget line that you've given us, the 600 line, the 605 line, that's not that's helpful.
So this is cost for materials or bringing someone in for temperature. Okay. Yes, trustee Plus.
Just to follow on, we are doing the budgeting now, and it's really hard for me to place a value on programming. Because I see things that you're doing that I really like to, if your numbers go, I'd really like to get numbers to see that it's increasing readership, increasing members, increasing the value of the library to the community instead of just the couple,
Right.
50 or 100 people that come and pet reptiles or something.
For sure. I think if we put our heads together, we can figure out ways to show some of those correlations over the next year.
Okay, great.
Other questions and comments? Right, well, Karen and Marie both appreciate you coming in here and giving a presentation. I guess we'll look forward to whatever information you folks provide to the director and back to trustees at some point.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you. Thank you.
we'll move on now to agenda item number 8, which is the director's report.
All right, thank you. Also, thanks to Karen and Marie. Just to answer a little bit about one question there. I mean, the kind of metric that we could get is a metric where, 50 attendees of a child program is happening at 11, and at noon, you see a surge spike because they all went over to the children's area to talk to their parents, the family, and the librarian, got a bunch of books, went to the serve desk. So just like you see obvious spikes with attendance because that person walked in the building, but they visited the library for a program. You'll see that same trend. It's an uptick in circulation around the time that group of people came into the building. So I know we can get that for sure. The question is whether you can pinpoint this person read more because of the program. That's a bit of a trickier one.
Afterwards.
Yeah.
Is there a step function where afterwards, it's for months it goes up?
Yeah, and that would be a trickier one. The easy one is the obvious uptake in usage following programs. Like you get them in the door, you engage them, and then they walk away with library material. That's pretty straightforward. Anecdotally, it makes complete sense. Tracing it down to a metric where you can, this is where social return on investment is different than return on investment. And like Karen mentioned, the learning loss or something like if a child has an A on the June report card, but then gets a B on the October report card, and what did they do in the summer? Nothing. Or nothing educational. But they had B in June, but they got an A in October, and all the summer they spent at the library with summer reading program. This is a return on the investment, which is hard to get that metric for unless you're tapping into school statistics and stuff like that. So some stuff is a social return on investment, which is hard to provide a quantitative metric, but anyway, that's fine. But we'll definitely put our minds to that and give a more quantitative picture, as soon as we can. Anyway, that was, just to that, but thanks to Karen and Marie. My report is relatively brief, just giving some updates. They usually do just over and above the report that's in the packet. First, collection development, the mature content collection has been moved from the technical services department at the Hayden branch to the Post Falls branch, where the mature content collection room is. So, the items will have a different status for a brief period. I think they're gonna say in processing now, whereas before they might have been under legal review or whatever. They're in processing for a bit. It won't be that long. There's just a few more things I have to deal with in regards to actually launching the room itself, especially regarding compliance with Idaho Code 181517B6B, which is directly referred to in our collection, in our mature content policy. So we've got to work on that a little bit, but the launch I would anticipate is relatively imminent. Just letting you know, the materials are now on site, and the room will be launched shortly. I just have a couple of T's to cross and I's to dot. List of inappropriate items, no inappropriate items are being pulled for legal review. Collection development constantly is reviewing materials for a variety of reasons. And the potential reclassification of an inappropriate material is simply one among many reasons that the collection development department reviews materials. I've said some of this before, but it helps. As regards collection development transparency, this is a public library, and therefore the entire collection and where everything is shelved is publicly accessible to the online catalog. And then, of course, you get the acquisition reports in the packet, or at least on the online packet. We are continuing to assess the children's collection, both for harmful, which is a legal term, and inappropriate, which is an internal policy term. We're reviewing the collection for those materials, and we will relocate them accordingly. So I said this many times before, but I still hear things that make me think I have to say it again, so I just repeated it. Next up, will be marketing. I'd like to thank the communications marketing department as well as programming, youth and adult, for everything that they've done in preparation for the North Idaho State Fair, which is beginning around the corner. And so they put a lot of time into that. We have a great presence there. I just want to thank them for that. And then also the CLN quarterly magazine has been an important initiative for me. It's also part of the strategic plan. And I'm just excited. I'm just so excited. This is the second edition. So our first edition was kind of what we normally did, which was a summer reading edition. We've always done a summer kind of thing. So this is actually the first time we've done something that wasn't summer. So it's the second edition. It's also the 50th anniversary edition. So I'm very proud of the work that Megan has done, and everyone involved in getting this ready. So this is going to be available at the fair. I can see some of you already have it. So it's a very exciting initiative that answers a lot of questions about, like, how we get our word out, how we get our message out there. It's meant to showcase everything that we're doing and all the efforts we're making. So very excited about that. A couple of human resources updates. We still have adult youth programming specialist position open for Harrison Pinehurst. We've had a few interviews about it. It's a very unique combination as a position. I'm guessing we'll need to pivot to try and satisfy that. But we had a lot of circulation specialists and we filled them all. There just happens to be one Hayden position left, a part-time position at Hayden, but we're filling that shortly. We do have a temporary finance specialist. It's a temporary position, and then we're still looking for the executive assistant. But I am happy to announce that we did successfully find a new courier. So we have a new courier. I welcome Tim Gant to the organization. He has a lot of potential for the CLN. We're very excited to have him on board, and he's already done, I guess, a couple of weeks of ride-alongs with the former courier and also the public services manager, who, when we presented the job description, talked about that change. So anyway, Tim Gant is on the team. We're very happy about that. And then just finally, the change in hours for the smaller branches to better support after-school library use is, I anticipate being able to announce the change with the beginning of the new year, school year, sorry. But the launching will be the beginning of the fiscal year. So hopefully, around the beginning of the new school year, we'll be able to announce the changes. The changes themselves won't take effect until the beginning of the fiscal year, so October. But this is to answer to a lot of feedback, certainly I've had since I started here, was, closing the branch libraries at 3 o'clock at the same time that school is closed, and that really caused a lot of, trouble for the, the after-school, library usage, obviously. So we're trying to address that. So, we should be able to, announce that soon, what it actually will be, what it will look like, and then launch it in October. So, that's the gist of, that's my, report.
Any questions for the director? Trustee Arson?
Just a couple of comments. America's 250th anniversary with displays that encouraged exploration of our nation's history, stories, and ideals, which is awesome. And also the Ice Age Flood lecture series was recorded and it's on YouTube. I've already got them in my watch next list because I wanted to attend those and I couldn't. Anyway, I think that's great. Thank you.
I have some comments in line kind of with the director's report, but not the same thing, but this is to do with the director and or what we're doing here. It was encouraging to me to get a number of compliments from our constituents, from the public, about what we're doing with regard to selecting books for minors. And that's kind of what we ran our campaign on. But there's always a big but. We need to improve. We have a acquisitions policy. And in there, it requires an Excel spreadsheet to be put out each month as part of the packet. And we did get that. And for July, I looked at it specifically for young adult fiction purchases. There were 24 purchases made. Unfortunately, 7 out of the 24 contain graphic violence. And this may not be a policy violation, but is it really desirable for minors? Is that why? There's a good reason why we're buying that. Worse than that, 2 books in particular didn't appear to actually violate our policy. And I'm sure that there is plenty of professional references out there for the collections of whoever is purchasing these things to assure that they're aligned with our policy. And I'm going to read what 2 of these are. I'm going to read the book. And speaking of ratings, I pulled this up here. There's books, or there are references called Compass book ratings, Take Back the Classroom, rated books, Screen It First, so forth. So there are references out there available to the general public. I don't know what's available to the professional librarians. In particular, that I'm calling out here, and this is again purchased in July. That was what our current right now packet says. This book is called The Girl in the Castle. It's written by James Patterson. And according to these different sources, it contains sexual assault, graphic violence, sexual content, minor drug use and alcohol use, suicide ideation, and there are at least 76 swear words, 19 of which have the F word in them. And again, these are rated in there with the National Book Rating Index, whatever one KISS the book is, there's different organizations out there. And the other book, again, I'm not trying to be a downer, it was good to get positive feedback. I think we've done somewhat, actually, we have done better each month. I review those things every single month, but there are too many things slipping through the cracks. Here's another one, The Fault in the Stars by John Green. It contains sexual activities. Rating it on 1 to 10, it rates it a 6. Profanity, 10 out of 10. That's all bad. It's at the top of the charts. Alcohol use by minors, references to alcoholism, drug use, controversial, religious, historical, and social commentary. These are things that come right out of these rating systems. They're readily available to the staff. We ran an idea of ensuring we're buying good materials. it's very easy to be discerning as to what we purchase. Once we get it in-house, that's a different story, and it becomes a big First Amendment issue, but we can control the things that we're funding, and I'm having an issue with this thing. Obviously, I'm a little bit wound up because it irritates me because I've been going through these reports every single month for almost a year now. They're on our website. There's an Excel sheet attached to the board packet if you go online and look on there. And so I like to know most, not right now, but why are the taxpayers funding these things that appear to violate the policies we wrote? And so I think that may be a discussion for another board meeting. I don't know. We don't need to solve it here. I'm mixing it in as part of the director's report because we're reporting what we do, but we have, I marked it up very clearly here, our materials selection and acquisition policy. It's very clear as to what is allowable, what's not allowable. It explains, and there's definitions of what's inappropriate for minors. It explains what is obscene. It goes into discussion of what propaganda is. And I don't want to go through each of these definitions here, but I'm getting a little disturbed by it. So it may be a subject for another meeting, but, and I have met a number of times with the director, and I'm assuming he's doing his best to work with whoever's purchasing these materials, but we can do better. That finishes my dissertation on that. Is there anything else yet?
I'm just gonna ask where that report is. You have to go get it off the
Yeah,
website.
if you go to our website under the agendas and whatever else is on there, one of those attachments on there is also an Excel spreadsheet. It's called collections report, I believe it is. And each month we have one for the purchases that were made the month before this meeting. So we got a July report for this month. Yes, I'm sorry, Director.
No, that's, thank you. I know you and I have met about this. I don't know off the top of my head, but do you remember what kind of numbers you were presenting to me, from 2025?
They were higher. Oh, they were
Just ballpark, yeah.
definitely, I would guess a dozen maybe. Could be a little higher than
And
that.
how many in the last?
Last month we had one,
Yeah,
that's all, that meaning in June.
Yeah.
Yeah, for June, for John. And then this month, at least two almost guaranteed violator policies. So it's better. That's what I told you. It's not the end of the world here, but we're not there yet. And anyway, I don't
yeah,
want
it's a work in progress, but
Yeah.
just to speak to the one that you brought to me last time. Not everything on that list is purchased. Right, because that list will include donations, that list will include a variety of methods that got it onto that list.
that's included in our acquisition
No, I
policy
understand.
donations.
I just want to speak to the one.
Sure.
So the one you mentioned last time, when I investigated it, because I take this as seriously as you do, otherwise I'd be here. That one was actually a bit of an anomaly because it was an item, and it was an item that was in the catalog. In other words, it had a mark record in our ILS because we had it. It's not a new book. It was a 2014, 26, I can't remember. But we had it. And it was long overdue for missing, right? And then it came back. Although I still haven't concluded whether that same one came back or it was another copy of that one. And unfortunately, it was received at a branch and put through the processing cataloging part because it was just an addition to something. Oh, hey, we had this, but we don't have it, right? So this is an internal issue, which I'm working on, but it's not related necessarily to the, oh, we're trying to get stuff that violates policy. Yeah, that's not what I'm here for. But I'm just trying to clarify that, let's put that one aside. That month actually would be clean. So
Did we not gain it in June?
I'm just saying, if you came to me with one,
Yes, that's correct.
and I'm telling you the context of that one.
Appreciate it.
So then you come with me to two right now.
Today, yes. I didn't, this is the first. I didn't come to you before.
I
This
know.
is,
So
I
now
thought I surprised you today.
oh, that's fine. James Patterson.
That's what
So
it's,
to me, that makes me wonder, well, first of all, I don't know. I'll have to go check. whether or not the assignation of the, like you say, I check all the YAs, whether that YA is the publisher's assignation, which is ending up on that sheet, because we all know James Patterson. If he published a book that the publisher thinks is for YA, and I've expressed my opinion of publishers here many times, not many times, but before it, libraries are here because we live in a higher echelon of 5 millennia of history. We do a certain thing. Authors can do whatever they want, and publishers can do whatever they want. But I don't feel beholden to publishers or authors to, because I'm not in the commercial marketplace, right?
Understood.
So if it's a James Patterson and they think it's YA, that doesn't mean we're going to treat it as YA.
So going by location, this is the
No, I
report,
understand
disclosing
that.
location, that's all.
Yeah,
So maybe
so a
you,
lot of this conversation is actually more about the details of that document that you're working with, and you're making assumptions on that document itself. And I'm telling you that it might not have been purchased, right? There could be another explanation, and it would be odd for me to say that if you're bringing me 20. If you're bringing me 20, 30 to 40, like before I got here, but now you're bringing me 1 and 2, and I'm saying, okay, that's interesting. How did those two happen? How did that one happen? So, I'm on the same page as you.
okay,
We're all working together, we're all in this together. So, I don't mind you doing it this way. You want to give me more lead time on the two?
this is a surprise. I'm so
Hey,
sorry.
I can roll with
I
it.
thought I'm tired of finding them myself each month, so
Yeah.
it's time to
I'm
share that with the rest of the
just
trustees.
glad
Yeah,
that you
okay.
came to me with ones from before I got here, or before I changed the structure here before that, and they were in the 20s, 30s. And now we're down to 1, 2. And I can explain that one, that's an oversight, which I gotta figure out.
Understood.
We don't want that kind of thing happening, right? So, for sure, these two, I'll look at them.
Okay, it's not designed to be an inquisition, exactly.
But
Just,
it's also important to understand, right? We are a public library.
yes,
And therefore, the reason why we're structuring it with a mature content collection and inappropriate, using the term inappropriate in the collection acquisitions policy is so that we regain the right and freedom that libraries should have to put things wherever we want, right? As a library, we can put a book on this shelf or that shelf or this shelf or that shelf, right? The goal is the same though. We want a top quality, wholesome, educational, like valuable children's collection. That's to make, children's collections great again. Right? That's what we want. And that's what we're doing. It doesn't mean that we're not gonna get a book in that, one person here, one person there might think this is terrible. What is this? Right? And that's not gonna go in the children. It's gonna go where we want to put it on the shelf. It could go into the whole entire YA can move 7 days over. Right? And as I've said here many times before, young adult to the publishing industry is, 13 to 17. Young adult at your local church group is 18 to, it's the ones that are trying to get married in court, right? It's a totally, how we're defining young adult, right, is up to us, right? And if so, we define young adult as 18 to 25, then all of a sudden the whole young adult publishing market, right, may come in, and then we place it somewhere. So I just want to make sure that you understand that I'm on the same page. Right, and we are trying to accomplish something together, which is great.
Okay.
So,
no, thank you. And the reason we have that report coming out each month is not strictly just to monitor how well we're complying, but it's also to advertise to the public. Hey, look at what we bought this month. If you can go online, you can look at this list and there's whatever we bought, 1,000 books in the last month. And go ahead and use it as a tool to help you shop a little bit and for taxpayers to see where the money's going. So it's not strictly there to monitor, looking just for bad books.
well, that's fine. And like I said in my little report, right, if we're talking about like transparency here, and this is a public library, like everything we have is in an ILS, where you can just go in and search keyword, like, so you'll know where it is, you know where we put it. Yeah, like we're not hiding anything. It's the whole point of a library system is that it's meant to be, right, publicly accessible, right? So it'd be interesting. We have those 2 books, right?
Mhm.
And I haven't had a chance.
I'll get you to it at the.
Right, I haven't had a chance,
Sure.
but it'd be interesting a month from now, whatever, to see where it landed. Right? And if it breaks the law, is landing in the mature content collection. Should we have got it? I don't know, that's another conversation, but it's important to realize that even if we, because you made a comment about being selective versus First Amendment and removal. I'm not going anywhere near that. I'm just saying that we have a place for something that breaks the law. You know, Idaho law is Idaho law. We comply, we appreciate. We have a place for that. We also have a place for a children's collection, which is like for our families and children in our community. And then we have an adult collection, which is the general adult collection in a public library. It's gonna have full spectrum of stuff, right? So we have these collections. And that's really where I'm interested. I'm interested in making sure that we have a library collection where we empower the parents so they know that this section is going to have that. And this section is not going to have that, whatever that is, but at least it's knowledge, right? And this is why, I mean, it's great that I guess you're getting that report early, but that report is essentially it's the shelf list. Back in the day, when you went into the card catalog, you had a whole bay of card catalogs for subject, and the same bay, author, and then the same bay, and you had to reproduce it, but there was a fourth one, which was the shelf list. And if you just need to know everything that was in the library on the shelf, you could just go to the shelf. Usually it was behind the scenes. It wasn't the one that was out in the public, but card catalogs, we live in that same environment, it's just electronic. So now this is great. We can continue to do that, but don't forget that it ends up just being in the ILS. And everything is transparent and available to see where it ended up.
Yeah, appreciate that. Okay, guess we can move on to our next item on the agenda. Maybe no less. Let's see, the budget discussion. That's item number 9, the 2026-2027 budget discussion. I can read off a little note to start it.
While you're doing.
Yes, please go ahead. Multiple taxing districts are grappling with balancing their 2026-2027 budgets. Expenses seem to be overwhelmingly exceeding revenue. An easy solution is to raise taxes, property taxes specifically. And even then, given the limit of only raising taxes 3%, this is not envisioned as sufficient to sustain and expand library services. I'm not saying we're proposing 3%, advertised 2%, but even if we went 3%, that's not sufficient for what we see the future. Other obvious options, another option is to cut costs. And cutting costs means searching for waste and seeking for efficiencies, perhaps reducing services, analyzing automatic COLA increases, looking at employee benefits, etc. We must live within our means. I think this board must explore options outside of raising taxes. For example, donations, grants, volunteers, maybe reinvigorating the CLN Foundation. Actively exploring voluntary support like this. You see, this entity, unfortunately, because it sounds very negative, this is not an essential service. It's a library, which is actually technically a luxury. And so I'd like to advocate continuously for the library, obviously, but I'm also a strong advocate for taxpayers. And I think we need to look for ways to voluntarily increase revenue rather than involuntarily taking it from the community via taxes. So that's just a general, my own thought after listening to last month's meeting, my own thoughts right now, and that's my start. Anyone else like to start off discussion-wise on the 2026-2027 budget? Trustee Boss.
So I passed out my notes on the budget. I'll just summarize them, and then I'm not saying we need to discuss just this, but what we seem to have here is the most we can get from taxpayers If we go 3% increase is 157,547. And you go to the bottom lines and you have a deficiency of, what I calculated, like 771,000. If we didn't do anything. But of that, we know that includes CARF, the capital capital asset. We have plans to spend 262,300. So that will decrease that deficit because we know it's coming from CARF funds. The only other place it's coming from are ICREP funds, trust bequeath funds, and benefits fund to make that difference. And even if you go to the maximum 3%, still 684,000 or 685,000 down, and then you subtract off CARF. So we basically got 440 or 400, well, over $400,000 that we're relying on this budget, taking out of these funds, the ICRIM, trust bequeath, and benefits funds. And I am proposing that, since I said it before on the top sheet, we seem to, I calculate, somebody can tell me if I'm wrong, but January 31st, based on the amount of money we have in the savings now and a 500,000 a month burn rate for 6 months, we'll have 1.235 million beyond the 1 million 2-month emergency fund. I'm proposing we take the equivalent of 3% that the taxpayers would have paid, 157,547, or if I'm wrong, that could be corrected. I'm proposing that we take that out of our savings and move it into here. The taxpayers already paid it. So effectively, we took more money from the taxpayers than we should have, and or we didn't spend what we were going to. But we don't need to take more from the taxpayer. So I'm proposing we take 3% out of our, well, the equivalent of 3% increase out of our savings. We'll still have over $1 million, and add it to this. And then there's, $200,000 difference. And I'm really opposed to just taking it out of the trust bequeath funds. To me, that's a one-time thing that we got, and that should be used for maybe improvements to Hayden if we want to expand it, because that's where the population is, or some one-time things. But we shouldn't be using trust bequeath and the benefits fund and so forth to fund our operation, because it's not sustainable. In the next year or 2 years, these costs we have now are going to just go up. Salary is going to go up. And we're not going to have a trust bequeath to take it from. So I'm asking the director to, you can tell me, I put a list here of salary, marketing. I know he wants to spend more money on these. Telephone I asked about, it's going up. The audit is going up. I know we need to have a different auditor because the others looked at it so many years in a row. Insurance is going up. I don't know if there's anything that can be done there. Post-fault repairs, I don't know what that involved, but I thought we just upgraded this facility, but we're looking at 5,000. Legal is going up. There's things going on that we probably can't do much there, but I don't know whether salary is the easiest. That's the biggest number. If we could task the director to do something to trim there, but I don't think we should be taking it. The other trustees can speak up, but I don't think we should be taking it out of trust bequeath, which is a one-time thing we were given. I don't think we should be relying on that to fund the expenses we have now that will be just as much or more next year. Because then we're just kicking the can down the road. If we have to do something about salary now, we should do it now and not use up our trust bequeath. I would really like that to go to expansion of Hayden, or we haven't decided anything. There's other Early Plumber is in our district. We don't do anything down there. Hauser is in our district. We don't do anything there. We should be starting some kind of, I've talked about it with the director, but something small, maybe just the lockers or something, but the trust bequeath should be being used for capital improvements, not for salary this year that can't be replenished by another. So I'm open to anybody discussing my comments, or if you want. That's what I wanted to throw out.
Thank you. Trustee Bell?
I prepared something as well. Taking into consideration responses from the public through various means such as comments at board meetings, emails, survey responses, and direct communications to me as a board member, I have heard a common thread in relation to our budget. The public believes there is room for cuts because of our organization, because they seem to think that our organization is top heavy. This aligns with my philosophy that as an organization, we should look for cuts from within before we go to the taxpayers for more money. In my opinion, this can be achieved by budget cuts in the range of $150,000 to $200,000 through a restructuring of the organizational chart at the district level, which could minimize tax increases while maintaining our frontline staff and patron services. Therefore, I move that the director and the chief administrative officer bring us a budget with monetary cuts and a restructuring of the organizational chart at the district level for our review.
Trustee Bell? Trustee Bus?
Maybe the chair can answer, how is this working logistically? We have to finalize the budget by, I thought, basically the end of the month. I think we would need a special meeting to review this later. I don't think we're ready to finalize anything, but anyway, I'm open to a special meeting, and I agree that we should look at, basically you're suggesting salary. I think we need to do that. But I think I'd like to not only have them work up another budget, but have a special meeting too. What's the date?
I think it's early September. Guess what it is.
Given what I've heard, I would suggest a special meeting a week from now. We need to move relatively quickly on this in order to get it approved before the L2s.
What's the date?
Yeah, the L2 form has to be submitted by somewhere early.
Early September, I think it was the first week,
Yeah,
I think it's first week, I don't know the date, but it's.
Would our primary direction be to start looking at salary and personnel costs from here incorrectly?
I don't know if I heard everything, trustee Bauman said, but I thought she said the word move in there, so I don't know whether that was it a motion? I don't know whether it was a.
Yeah, I did make it, it doesn't, yeah.
It didn't sound like an official motion, but yes.
Do you want me to make an official motion?
Well, that might be, we can do a little more discussion if you want. You can always make a motion when you want to, but
I'd like to have the staff look at more than just organizational structure. I mean, I wrote a list here of some things. I don't know if there's other things on the budget. I know you cut a lot of stuff. But I don't know if there's anything other that, you know, the marketing or the insurance or the post-fall repairs or legal or. I don't want to limit you just to organizational staff. Maybe organizational staff and anything else or something.
Okay, so do you want me to restate it?
If we're at that point, you can make a motion, certainly. Is it limited to, are you asking just to have a special meeting, or are you asking to have a analysis done? Are we having a budget workshop? I'm not really sure which direction you'd like to go if on both.
Well, I think we could deal with it in a special meeting that could be about the budget. But I definitely want to see changes to the organizational chart and the way that things are currently done at the district level.
Because even when it came to personnel costs, I mean, one of the things that been going through my head, not particularly to do with, but Trustee Plus at one or two meetings at least brought up the fact that, well, I never got a cost of living increase automatically. That wasn't part of this pay package. And I tend to agree. I'm not a big fan necessarily of COLAs just to be handed out. Not everybody out there gets one of those COLAs. The homeowners out there and the property people that pay on their property taxes don't necessarily get a COLA to help cover their property taxes. And I am a big one for meritocracy, where I'd be more inclined to say we do away with cost of living increases and we strictly say, oh, we have merit increases. And if a person does an okay job and shows up enough not to get fired, well, then you keep their job. Very good. If there's someone else who's really performing and doing a stellar job, maybe they get 3 or 4%. I don't have a range in mind, but I think we should be rewarding specifically the people that are producing, and for those who are doing enough to keep their jobs, they keep their jobs if they don't get more money to do that. So I have, that's probably one of my, you know, I didn't look through all through my notes here, but that is one of my current concerns. Yeah,
Just, I agree on merit pay. It should be for merit, not simply for showing up and failing to get fired. So I would be interested in looking at that as well.
Okay, Trustee Plus.
I agree with merit, but it has to be based on market value. If all of our employees, if we don't give them a raise, are gonna go over to Liberty Lake Library because they're paying more, can't have that. So if the market or market value, as example, library director, we know they're being paid more other places locally. You can't compare to Boise, because if they want to leave and go to Boise or go to Olympia or something, I mean, that's up to them, but locally, if I don't know if we have to employ it or have another market survey, or if there's anything we can tap into that says, you know, all the Spokane Valley libraries are getting a 2% increase. That has to be a factor too. We can't lose our employees locally just because we didn't follow the competition.
Yeah, just normally I can take direction from the board. You guys say, oh, we direct the library to do this. Given the complexity of this and given the timeline of this and given the seriousness of this, given the fact that the budget is the primary purview of the governance side of the board and is not an operational thing per se, that's my purview. I would appreciate a motion, because if you just give me a direction, and I've heard so many different things, right? I need a number, right? You want me to cut 200,000? You want me to cut 400,000? You want me to cut 100,000? I need the number because you guys are in charge here. And I don't want the motion to be too nebulous. right? Especially to give them the timeline, right? So really important for me. I can take it as a direction. We just direct the board, direction is, but a motion would help me. It'll be, something I can use, specifically over the next week to get this done. So, that's all I'm asking, is that it's very clear what it is you want me to do.
Trustee Bellman, just make sure we understand something. Are we strictly going to be asking to analyze the budget again, or because, or are we, I know one of the things I thought we were coming here for basically was to approve either a 0, 1, or 2% budget this year. That was my expectation right now. And I made it clear, I think, in past meetings that I was in the 0 to 1% range. I don't know how well we can overhaul the design of the organization in a single meeting. Yes, trustee, I'm sorry.
Yeah, obviously the burden, for lack of a better term, over the next week is gonna fall to me and my team to present something to you. All I need from you is, and honestly, to be easy, don't ask for, give us a 0, 1, 2, 3, right? What percentage do you want to give? How much you want me to cut? I'll deliver the best possible public library in North Idaho, but I just need to know what you want me to do. In the time frame. If we had more time, fine, but we're talking, I gotta get this done by the next special meeting, present it to you, and then it's like yay, nay. So it's easier to do a yay, nay on a single option than a yay, nay on 3 options. So again, I'm not telling you what to do, I'm just helping you know what I have to do.
Yeah, to formulate exactly what are we asking for. Trustee Plus.
What I would like the motion to be is to direct the director to reduce expenses by 220,000. And then we can move from savings over into the budget. I don't think that goes in the budget, or maybe it does. I don't know whether we have to show as income money that's already in our account is going to balance the budget. I think we can just move that money from the savings. But I would like to move the 3% that the taxpayers already paid. But I believe we need basically 220,000 of something. And I don't want to be so specific saying it has to be a restructure of the organization, or it has to be salary or COLA, or I would just like 220,000. Motion to direct them to do 220,000, and if it needs to include that we're moving 157 from savings to income, it shouldn't be income because we already have it. Anyway,
Well, are you promoting the idea? I'm asking to just say you want to put a 0% increase on the budget and then
0%.
adjust some of the line items?
I want a 0% increase and a $220,000 reduction somehow. You can restructure, you can do whatever you want.
So you're looking for,
And then I don't know that we have to say we're moving in this motion that we're moving 157,000 or 3% out of our savings. I mean, we can move 160,000 and make it even if he doesn't get the exact amount, but I think that's just a motion separately just to move money from savings. I don't know. I mean, we already have it. It's not income. So I don't know how we say we move it from savings to the budget.
well, if I'm hearing correctly, you're proposing a 0% increase in the budget, meaning no increase for taxes.
Mhm.
And then moving money that's within our system already to cover necessary expenses. Is that, I see where you're
But
going
only
with
some. The other has to be 220,000 reduction that the director needs to come up with. The card is covering 262,300, and there's other money here. I just don't want it coming from the bequeath fund, actually, it seems like we could just add a line item, say savings, just as much as you've got bequeath funds, just say savings. And show 157,000 to balance it. Maybe that's all you need to do.
Trustee Bowden?
I think that we need to specifically say that we're looking for cuts at the district level.
The district level meeting as a whole. across the board.
Yes. And specifically with district level employees. I think we need to be that specific.
Basically, to make sure we can articulate it exactly what are we asking staff to produce? Is it fair? Sure, I didn't see you down there.
So I hate to consider this at the late stage of the game. And if we do have a meeting next week, I may have to call in, if it's on Thursday, but I can do that. Anyway, I remember before I became a trustee, I met with, Len Seeley, who was a former trustee, and he was saying just how dissatisfied he was with the amount that's being spent on the employees versus how much is being spent on the materials. And I mean, we would never even come close to equalizing those, and we wouldn't want to, but it's something to consider. Just analyze what's really necessary for salaries and all of that versus what we're putting towards the books. And someone at the budget hearing did say something about the top-heavy administration. So I'm for this idea, I guess. That's where I was going with that.
Trustee Plus.
I guess I disagree with saying it has to be at the district level. I trust the director he's made the org chart, he's made the changes. We have cut from the district level. We no longer have a assistant library director. I wonder whether we need to spend as much money in some departments, but I think unless the library director knows already what he would do, and it is at the district level, I don't know why we have to tell him that.
He wants to.
No, sorry, given the, I guess the ultimate number is a significant piece of this, because I don't remember exactly what's on your list, but you're not gonna cull 220,000 out of some of the lines you mentioned. If you're talking that kind of cut, we're talking salaries. We're talking district level. I mean, if we're going to listen to the community, and the community says we're top heavy, right? And the community says, give us the best product with, I'm not just community, but the board. I've heard the board say the same things for months and months. So I just need a direction from the board, right? But you can't say cut 200,000 or 300,000 and try and cut it out of your facilities maintenance line of Post Falls. There's no way to do that. You got 5,000 here, 2,000 there. So I just need to know the number of the cut. And I think it's pretty unanimous, it seems, with the board and the community that they wanted to come out of the district level staffing. So, I mean, that's what I'm hearing. But anyway, it's just, to me, it's like, I wouldn't want to complicate it. Like where I got to find 5 here, 2 here, 1 here, 3, right?
But you'd have the choice. If you do want to go get it.
Yeah, as long as you say that, as long as
It's the dollar amount is what I'm.
dollar amount and yeah, I
But if you know that it has to come from district level, then, I mean, we're not telling you it has to be, that's up to you.
well, I think some of it is your responsibility to tell me that. Because you're the governance board, and where you would overstep would be like getting in the weeds with operational. But obviously in the trustee bylaws, it's salaries and compensation and stuff, that is your ultimate purview. That's why we spend 2 months on the budget, right? This is where you guys really do your thing. So I would prefer if you would just tell me, right? Because you are the ones that were elected, and I'm here to operate the place according to your governance. So that's all I'm saying, is that I just heard your list and I'm not getting 220 or 230 or 300.
Salaries in it.
Oh, no, saying, the salaries for sure, but not in some of those other things. So, because again, I'm, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking a week turnaround time here. This is, it's rather significant. So anyway, yeah, just, I think that's all I had to say.
But if you get 200 out of the salary and you still need another 20, I want to give you the freedom to go take 5 here, 5 there, and I want to give you the freedom.
Yeah, no, I understand. I have that freedom. I'm just, based on the number that we're looking at, I just want to have that direction.
Trustee Bowden?
Okay, I move that the director brings us a budget with monetary cuts of at least $200,000 via a restructuring of the organizational chart at the district level.
It has been moved. Okay, I don't get them down, sorry. Okay, can you repeat that, Peter? I can say so moved, but I've got to write it down.
I move that the director brings us a budget with monetary cuts of at least $200,000 and a restructuring of the organizational chart at the district level.
Sorry, I hate to
Do you need me to
overstep, but I think the motion should include the percentage increase
Okay.
that the board wants, because otherwise they're gonna make
See?
3 different budgets and I gotta look at it.
I'd like to see a 0% and a 1%. I don't know what everybody else wants to see, or a 0% and a 2%.
Are you amending your,
Yes.
you amending your
Also,
motion?
yes.
I can't amend it for you. What is your motion?
I move that the director brings us a budget with monetary cuts of at least $200,000, along with restructuring of the organizational chart at the district level, with a percentage of 0% increase for tax and a 2% increase for tax.
The last 2 percentages, please.
0% and 2%.
So no one.
No, 1%.
2 and 1.
Yeah, 0 and 1. I mean, 0 and 2.
It's moved, the director presents, I guess, the board with cuts of $200,000 with restructuring at the district part level, I'm sorry, the district level, I guess it is here, with showing a 0 through 2% decrease, is that correct? Decrease.
Oh, no, increase in taxation. So they're gonna show us what it looks like restructured with a 0% and with a 2%.
Typically, when we get complicated motions, it really the trustee's obligation to write it out carefully. So I have a way of repeating it and knowing exactly what we're voting on. So I'm incapable of writing it down right now. So if you can take the time to write it up for me and I can read it. I'm not the best reader, but I don't want to interpret what I think you're telling me.
So.
Yes.
I still don't think I could do 2%, do 1 or.
You want to see all?
1.5, just split the difference, or
You can do
what do you guys
anything.
want?
As I'm listening to, since she's writing it up, we're asking to cut $200,000 and yet we want to see a budget that goes up to 2%. I'm not really sure. I'm following exactly what we're being asked, what we're asking the director to produce here.
So it ends up balancing out a 0.
Yeah.
I just don't know whether, and you guys know better how these, things have to be done, but I mean, it's almost like 2 different decisions. If the board wants to make a conclusion about 0, 1, 2, make it. And then put it in the motion, which is about a different thing, right? The motion's about a different thing, but you need that one piece of data in the motion. So rather than have one trustee make a motion which has 2 parts to it, maybe the board just wants to make a decision right now about 5%.
I don't think she would.
It'll be my preference to come up with a percentage, either 0, 1, or 2, whatever it is, or somewhere in between. And so we know where we're going here personally as well. And again, we don't have a motion on the floor at the moment, so we're still talking trustee costs.
I thought we did have an emotion, but anyway.
It was the discussions of that,
I
motions
would
that are
like
being
to,
formulated.
I would like her to amend it, to remove the words, with a restructuring at the district level. Leave that out and give the director,
You'll have an opportunity to amend a motion once. a
well, if
motion
she
is
hasn't
made.
made it yet, I'm suggesting she take
Okay,
that out.
okay, she can.
Because I'm gonna go through and ask for an amendment, and we'll have a discussion. And I'm also asking that the motion include adding savings funds down here where it says bequeath of the equivalent of 157,000, the 3% number. Put that in there as a savings fund, just like IGRIP and the other, showing that we're taking the money, but it's a 0% and we're taking the 3% out of our savings account. So add the savings account line item.
Well, the motion, as I understand it, it would require restructuring at the district level, but it wouldn't prohibit any other restructuring as well in order to hit the 200,000, right? So there is still some freedom there. I don't think we have to request three different budget based on three different percentages. I don't think that's necessary.
But I think it should include that if we should decide, are we gonna take 3% out of savings? We got 1.2 million in January 31st. Are we gonna take 157,000 of that and put it in this, along with these other funds as a source? Instead of taxing the taxpayers, they already paid that money. I'd like us to include that in the motion, that it comes out of savings.
Instead of maybe trying to make some giant motion again, but you can always make a motion, I can't stop that, but. I don't know if anyone on this board here is promoting the idea of anything above zero. I think what I'm hearing is you're looking for cuts or ways to adjust the budget to align with a zero increase. And so maybe the first step will be, we agree that we're going with a 0, 1.5%, 1%, 2% increase or not. And then try and work the budget, given that restriction going the other way around. So, and how, so first come up with, then we go, are we looking for an increase in taxes or not? If we're not, if we're going to 0, then, okay, now, working with that constraint, okay, now how do we make that balance out? I don't know if that's a correct way to look at it. I don't even know why we're entertaining a 1 or 2% exploration here if we're not gonna be increasing taxes at all. I'm struggling to understand it. Again, I've gone through this thing, but it's only my third, but I think it's my third budget round. And it's clunky and it's not fun, but we gotta make it work, so.
Clarification, we don't have to go whole numbers.
Exactly.
We can go minus 0.5%, 0, and plus 0.5%. Or you can do 1.5%, but I'm advocating for 0. That's what I'm gonna vote for.
So if we're having general discussion, I can support a 0. I certainly don't want to reduce it below that, but
I too am advocating 0.
Majority.
I can support 0.
Consensus.
Right,
0.
well, I think we have a consensus. I mean, it's not a motion. We can make a motion, but are we going to go with an agreement that we're going to go with 0? If we are, I'd entertain a motion. This board wishes to, I guess, yeah, go make a motion for me if you want.
I moved that our,
If we, as long as there's not a motion in process already, I don't mean to cut you off because You were working on the motion together on the floor here. And you get first shot at that before we jump into another motion, if I understand the rules correctly.
So I'll say it again. I move that the director brings us a budget with monetary cuts of $200,000 and a restructuring of the organizational chart at the district level for our review with a 0% tax increase.
Okay, now I can read that.
Yes.
There it is here. All right. I'll read the motion. It has been moved that the director bring a budget with monetary cuts and a restructuring of the organizational chart at the district level for our review with a 0% tax increase. Okay, so I guess that the motion's been made, so now it's still open for discussion, I believe.
I move to amend the motion to remove the restructure of organization chart at the district level.
It has been moved to amend the motion to remove.
The words.
Sorry. Been moved to amend the motion and remove the wording of the restructuring of the organizational chart
At the district level.
at the district level. Okay.
I think that was
So we had a motion made, we're making an amendment. So now we're gonna vote on the amendment to the motion as the next step. And then we can go back to the main motion if we can. So, it's open for discussion. Oh, so it's been moved already, so it's open up for discussion of
The amendment.
regarding the amendment portion of the motion. So we're now discussing taking out of this motion, restructuring the organizational chart at the district level. And Trustee, sorry, comments.
It's okay. I think it's pivotal and absolutely necessary to keep it in that it's restructuring because the public has told us that we're top heavy. The district level is where everything is top heavy. We need to keep that language in the directive to the director.
Trustee Allison.
I agree that it needs to stay in there. I think trustee Banducci had a really good point that, you know, that doesn't prohibit immediate other things. So, you know, if there are things that are absolutely essential that cannot be restructured, then that still get, the director can still look elsewhere, but needs to look at that first.
So I got a question to help me understand where I want to go. So are we looking at, I want to use the right word there, restructuring, yeah, the restructuring of the organizational chart at the district level. So is this strictly we're talking about keeping certain jobs, not giving certain jobs, changing the compensation for different people's jobs? I have to make sure I understand what I'm voting on basically.
Chart.
Okay, I mean, we have an organizational chart, that chart's been changed like 3 times over the last 3 years, I think. So it's still, the director has input, you feel free as well. So it's for the organizational chart design, okay.
Was there a question?
Oh, no, I thought maybe you had,
No, I was trying to answer questions.
I'm not sure if I want to force it as an organizational chart change, but myself, trustee Fox.
Yeah, this is discussion on that wording, and I don't know why in the world we need to tell him he needs to make a new org chart. He's made these as much as, you know, every week that he wants, or every month. He can come up with the 200,000, doing something, eliminating a job, or making everybody operate at a lower level. I don't know what it is, but I don't know why we have to tell him that you have to make a new org chart. I'd like to leave that out. Just let him come up with the 200,000, which is obviously gonna have to be out of salary because he can't do it on these other things.
I tend to agree with what you're saying. I don't really want to say it has to come out of the organizational chart and rearrangement of the chart. I can't say where, but I'm fine with the idea of not raising the taxes. I'm staying with 0. I would like, my preference would be, okay, take it back and say, okay, given 0% increase, that's our marching orders. How do we adjust this thing to make that work? Whether we shift money around internally, take money out of savings, whatever we're doing there, that would be my preferred direction. So I don't really want to force it and say it's coming out of the organizational chart and design there. So, Trustee Benji? Oh, I think
What percentage of line 500 is at the district level? Do we have any?
Maybe there's a lot of districts there.
If you make this motion, I promise to bring a budget that has a lot of the answers to these questions. I didn't know that this was, so I mean, the district staff, the top heavy district staff, or so I'm told, is not branch level staff, right? That's the two things that exist are district and branch, right? So, Trustee Plus in one sentence will say, it's okay if it comes from eliminating a job, but don't put in language which is essentially eliminating a job, right? If I eliminate a job, I'm restructuring an organization. So I don't, there seems to be no conflict between what Trustee Plus and what Trustee Bowen are saying. Because I can't get $220,000 cut from telecom line, from, you know, and if we're gonna talk about moving, I don't know whether we need to talk about moving money. Because when I wanted to move trust money, it was, don't move trust money. So savings money and trust money, there's no restrictions on the trust money, or the donor places the restrictions on a trust. If the board wants to place restrictions on a trust that the donor didn't place restrictions on, that's a whole other conversation beyond this motion. So I'm happy to clarify what district it is, but it's very simple. There's branch staff and there's district staff. And the community has said we're top heavy. I keep hearing the rumblings, you know, about top heaviness. So if that's the will of the board, I will execute the will of the board.
Trustee.
Do you need direction to say do an org chart in order to justify doing this? I mean, is that why we're putting that in there? Or if we say, come up with 200,000 and it's obvious the salary, I don't know why we have to say that you have to come back with an org chart different, because. Or, okay, if there's more to it, maybe I'm missing.
I think you can certainly have a conversation about preferences from the admin level, from the trustee level, but what I'm hearing related to the budget, the compensation packages, and sort of the overall structure of the budget connects to that is pretty squarely within the authority of the board. And so, you know, the director could bring you a proposal, but almost most of the time, the board would need to approve that if it affects the compensation package for the employees.
So that's a rework.
Doesn't have to be.
He just said it is.
No, you said it affects the compensation level. Does it require us to say, change the org chart?
Does what require you to say change the org chart?
To come up with the savings reduction and salary? Do we have to couple it with the words by creating a new org chart? I don't see why we have to. You can create an org chart and we don't tell them what to do with org charts.
That's not our level. Yes, Trustee.
So I think we're getting caught up in semantics, whatever. If it's the elimination of salaries, it doesn't matter whether I create a different org chart the next day. I'm not talking about a piece of paper with drawings and colors on it. You're talking about eliminating salaries. All that Trustee Bauman is saying, which is what she's hearing from her constituents and the public, is that eliminate salaries from a specific part of the organization, the district level. It's not really about the org chart. The org chart is an inevitability that my org chart changes if you eliminate positions. So I need the direction from the board, because that is your purview. That is why you were elected, to make these decisions. Tell me, do you want me to eliminate positions in order to gain in order to go with a 0% budget of an X number of dollars, decrease? Because if you do, I will. So I don't have a problem with the language that's being spoken of. I just don't want us to spend too much time on the language. I understand what you're saying. I just need the motion.
Yeah, I'm questioning the same thing I think trustee Plas says. I don't know why we have to focus on the positions at the district level, for using that terminology there. If we have enough money to take out of emergency fund, if it's over what the estimated maximum we wanted to keep on there, and we had other ways to juggle things, I'm not necessarily at all proposing forcing it to be from the organizational, from the district level positions, because we're talking positions. So, trustee Plus.
But we don't have 360,000. I don't want to take 360,000 out of savings and not do the salary. I want to take, and maybe we should vote on that separately. I want to take the equivalent of what the taxpayers would have paid if we wanted a 3% increase. I want to take it out of savings. Basically, it is their money. They already paid for it. I don't want to take 10% out of it or some other number. I want 3%, 157,000.
And you're saying you see that 150,000 equivalent available in our finances now?
Yes, but not another 200 or 220,000. That has to come out of salary or some other cut. We're short 350 or maybe more.
Was there further discussion on the amendment? I'm 100% sure I feel solidly understanding what that amendment is saying, that we're going to cut a position or positions at the district level in order to equate to how much?
I'm pretty sure we're on his amendment to my motion.
Yeah, we are.
And you've got three of us that said we're not gonna vote for his amendment.
I don't remember hearing a second. No.
We don't.
You'll never hear that.
Can you repeat your concern? I know we're working it right now. It's the amendment to the motion.
Right, amendment to the motion, but the three of us said in discussion that we are not going to vote for his amendment,
Which is to remove.
which is to remove the language,
Okay, then I'll go,
the restructuring language.
then we can, pardon me?
Which three of us said that?
Yeah, well, we can, so to speak,
Maybe
Well,
comment.
these are
we
two
can
of us.
more,
The
if
two of us
you see
did.
us where it's going, we basically are calling the motion of sorts. Then,
You need
so,
to vote on it.
I have, we are,
Vote on the.
we're gonna vote on the amendments.
But this is not it's his amendment to my motion. His amendment wanted to take this, the wording out.
Restructuring of all.
The motion on the floor is an amendment to the motion. And the amendment is to remove the wording, the
With restructuring.
restructuring of the organizational chart. All those in favor,
Chair Henley, if I may,
please,
very quickly
council.
before you vote, because I feel like I may not have given you a complete answer earlier. I was here for part of the conversation. To me, this restructuring language sounds almost like a reduction in force type of a scenario. I'm not sure if that's what we're doing, but our personnel manual in 7.1 does reserve that right to the board to do that. And so if there is a reduction in force component to this, the board would either have to, say, hey, bring us a proposal, we'll vote on it later. Or at some point, they would have to vote on that if we're like eliminating a position, removing money for the position. I don't think the director has unilateral authority under the statutes or the policy to do that himself. And so if that's the direction we're moving to say, hey, maybe a position needs to be eliminated and that's how we're going to come up with the money, then at some point the board would need to vote on that. Whether it's today or not, I don't know, but.
And if we leave that wording in the motion, then I assume are we gonna then solve the problem as to how we're gonna adjust the organization staffing level to achieve the a reduction goal?
It's my understanding that we are giving him more, we're actually, by putting this language in there, we're giving him more direction and we're giving him greater ability to make the cuts that we feel need to be made.
Still, the motion is still, the amendment to the motion is to remove the wording. With restructuring the organizational chart. Just no further discussion. All those in favor of the amendment, say aye. That's good too. It's aye, agree as well.
Nay.
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 Okay, the nays have it. I can do that one. All right, so the amendment stands, and we can now we return to the main motion. That's the whole thing again. I can read it again as needed.
Sure.
Okay, yes, please, let's go.
So I think that her motion does not preclude what trustee Boss wants, which is to give the director freedom. He still can do that. So before we vote on the original motion now, I would like to add the words "at least" in there right before 200,000, because to ask the director to come up with exactly 200,000 be kind of hard. But I'm not making that motion to amend yet. What do you guys think?
Which one of the times I read it, I did say at least, so.
Okay. So good,
I think it should be 220.
So we're not making an official motion to amend at the moment. Okay.
No, this is
Are you looking at, what do you say, it's approximately, what do you say? At least,
So at
at
least
least,
200.
okay, so that's what we're talking about.
Discussion.
Please go ahead.
What happens if the
I'll leave it wait and see.
director does this, but he doesn't need to change the org chart? Now we telling him in this, you gotta come back with a new org chart. So figure out some way to make a new org chart. Why are we telling him that?
Yes,
Could you read the motion again?
the director, bring a budget with monetary cuts of at least $200,000 and a restructuring of the organizational chart at the district level for review. That included a 0% tax increase.
So that's my question.
Yeah.
What if he need to do an org chart, or what if he doesn't want to? I mean, we're forcing him to do an org chart.
Please.
The wording doesn't affect my mind because I know the org chart. And if you're asking me to eliminate a position at the district level, the org chart will automatically be changed, because if you said eliminate front desk staff, the org chart wouldn't change, because in the org chart, it just says front desk staff. Like I said, it says public service staff. So if I eliminate 5 of them, the chart doesn't change. But we're talking about the top heavy district level, which means if you're saying eliminate a district level position, the org chart automatically, it's not even the most important language in this motion. It's inevitable. Because if I take a position out of the chart, it will automatically change. So I don't want us to get hung up on that, because that's really not the biggest deal about what we're talking about. So the org chart will automatically change. It's an inevitable clause in this motion, which has no bearing on the motion itself.
Does the director understand what is being asked in this motion is currently on the floor?
I do understand.
Okay, again, so basically, we're asking you to come back to us with a budget that has monetary cuts in it of at least $200,000 based upon restructuring of the organization at a district level. in order for us to arrive at a 0% tax increase. Is that correct?
I don't know whether, I mean, that will accomplish the 200,000 or at least 200,000, but I don't know how to stop taking out of the trust bequest fund and take it out of our savings instead. I would like that to be part of it somehow. 0% increase. And right now, the budget is taking it out of trust bequest for all, 0, 1%, 2%, 3%. It's still taking money out of there. I'd like us to, I guess maybe in the long run, it doesn't matter because if we want to allocate, 500,000 to, or to add on to a building or to do some major capital change, that'll come out of our savings too. So it doesn't matter whether it comes out of bequest or maybe, I guess maybe I'll back off and just let that go. We can work that out with motions later. Okay.
Any additional?
Can we call a question?
Yes, certainly, an option. The question has been called. All those in favor of voting on the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, so it's been moved. We go ahead and proceed, I guess. What do we see here? We'll go ahead with the actual voting then. We're now voting on the main motion. And the motion is that I move that the director brings a budget with monetary cuts of $200,000. At least $200,000 of restructuring of the organization of chart, we'll call that, at a district level for our review, which would include a 0% tax increase.
With a 2% or with a
Just
0%.
zero, that's what we have, yes. And so the motions that we've already had our discussion, so all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nay. What was yours? Aye. Aye, okay. The ayes have it. I guess that concludes our discussion, maybe on the budget, or we can have additional.
Thank you.
No, well, I guess we're up against a break. It's 4:02. We'll call it 4:03. We'll reconvene at 4:13. Let's call it 4:15, make it easier. It's now 4:16, reconvening the meeting. Moving on to item number, let me see where we are here. Item number 11 on the agenda, the North Idaho State Fair. And that's it. The sub-subject on there is trustee representation. So did you want to start it? Okay. I had notes on it. I did write notes. I write notes on lots of stuff. Okay. Need another story here. North Idaho State Fair begins tomorrow on August 21st and will continue through Sunday, August 30th. While it's not new, I think this annual event is an excellent outreach opportunity for the CLN. And the CLN will have a booth in Building 7. Is that still correct? Okay, Building 7. And it will be staffed throughout the day by employees. Okay, good. I don't want to say something that Megan doesn't agree with. Okay, and what I'm hoping for, different this year than we've done in the past, is that we elected trustees supplement the staff by also spending some time conversing with the public at the fair. I've never done it myself. I believe this would be a great time to ensure the public knows who we are and be made aware of some of our most recent accomplishments. I would encourage each of us to coordinate with Martin, if that's okay. Okay, go or to the director or his representatives. So it is the director, to identify time slots when you can make yourselves available. So I'm going to shoot myself. I don't have a plan in, right? we'll be at meetings ourselves. I can't go to the fair if I'm here at meetings in the future. But in any case, I'm assuming I'm gonna do at least 2 or 3 days of, I'm just gonna guess 2 hours at a time, or maybe 3, depends. If the crowd is overwhelming and they all wanna talk to me, I'll be happy to stay there. If nobody's around, I'll go home. And so, as a reminder, if you do go, don't forget your trustee badge so people know who you are. And then, in addition to that, we worked on a project here. This is a rack card, we call it there, or like a handout we have specifically targeted toward trustees. So, yeah, I'm not gonna read all the lines on it, but on one side it says Board of Trustees. Why is there a trustee and a library board? And the answer is on the card here. And then who is the library board? How it's made up. It has pictures. I'm the first picture on there because I'm the chair. Okay. All right, so we know that. But we have all 5 of us on there and a little map of basically the county with some stars where the different libraries are. And then on the back of it, it has a QR code at the bottom. It leads the people to looking at what accomplishments the board has delivered in the last year, or actually the last 3 years. And so the top of this card here has highlights of recent board accomplishments. And so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 particular larger accomplishments in the last year or so. I can pass it around because I just found out that there are no copies of this except for this one here. There are some at the fair or on the way to the fair. So you want to take a look at it, pass it around. That's my show and tell for today. Are there any questions or anything else about the fair thing? Because again, I would strongly encourage people to go if they can, and you don't need to live there. Trustee Hudson, please.
Yeah, I would just like to say, I think this is a great idea because I keep hearing in the community from people who heard things, but they're not really up to date, and they still think that the trustees are fighting the administration, that the administration is not cooperating. This is a great time to let them know that the administration is awesome and that we're doing good things and we're happy here.
Excellent. Okay, Trustee Plus.
Did the CLN marketing help you pick this very small font that I've?
It's the font that fit on the picture, and most of the people that go are very young.
I believe it was Big Magnet, big magnifying glass that sponsored this. Yes.
Take a copy and put it on your Xerox and blow it up. Okay. Okay, nothing else on that. We can move on. Oh, please, Trustee Fox, please.
Are admission passes available?
Yeah, I don't know how that works.
We get and parking passes, I have those for you.
Oh, really?
Arrange it, yeah, okay.
You know, so we can get in and park and then get inside, because I don't want to pay for it. I mean, I'll pay for at least 1 round going in, I don't mind. Okay. Thank you, okay. All right, okay, so again, we'll work with the director to arrange different days, so we will all show at the same, we don't want to have 3 of us or whatever at the same time either one. So anyway, I'm gonna try again for myself to get in, or 2, 3, 4 times if I can. And it just depends upon the volume of patrons coming by and whether fellow I stay around. And so hopefully everybody can do the same thing, and you can let us know for overlapping each other too many. I don't know what the optimal times are. You know, we maybe are aiming for the younger mothers and fathers of kids, children, or we're looking for adults, or there's certain times of the day when hardly anyone walks through, and other times it's super busy. Say, I don't know when it would be, but I have gone to the fair before, and I never watched the volume level. So, any other discussion on the? No. Okay. Very good. Yes. Yes. Director.
This is obviously probably available online, but each day of the fair has a certain theme to it.
Oh.
So I think so. Tuesday, August 25th, is Seniors Day, Senior Day. So if you
It's him. He can read it.
Yeah. If you want to bring the magnifying. So yeah, so I can send this out.
Yeah.
And I can send out the sign up sheet and we can talk about, but yeah, there might be some days that might be of interest to you because the fair itself has a theme for that day.
Okay, good.
I'll connect with each of you.
Oh, and thank you for marketing communications for putting that rat car together with me. Appreciate that. Okay, next item on here is trustee training. That goes over to council.
Okay, thank you. You have two packets in front of you. One is Free Speech Coalition et al. Versus Ken Paxton, a 2025 Supreme Court case, and the other one is the Texas law at issue, HB number 1181. This was a seminal case related to Texas age verification law to access pornography online, and it was, not Google or websites that didn't have at least a third of its content being pornographic. So most of that obviously would be considered sexually explicit. And so this case is very germane to, the debate related to how should states continue to regulate minors' access to harmful to minors' content. And so what this court held, since no court had applied the strict scrutiny, intermediate, or rational basis standard to this issue since Ginsburg, right? So I mean, we're grappling with Miller and Ginsburg, and this is pre what scrutiny is the court going to apply? This court says intermediate. We're applying intermediate scrutiny to an age verification requirement, and they essentially based that finding to this facial challenge to the constitutionality of the law because of the state's traditional and reserved power to protect children from having access to content that an adult would have a right to access, right? And so what the court's grappling with here is this incidental burden on adults, because now an adult has to put their ID in or use a credit card, 1 cent transaction or some sort of third-party verification for their age. The court looked at this traditional power to require age verification to access that clearly within the state's authority, and that was the state's authority to prohibit children from accessing sexually explicit content. The strict scrutiny standard would have certainly overturned this law because there's maybe like one case related to the First Amendment that has ever survived. I think it was burning draft cards, and that wasn't technically a content-based, it was a conduct plus content case. The court held that the states have two distinct powers to address obscenity. They may prescribe outright speech that is obscene to the public at large, and they may prevent children from accessing speech that is obscene to children. Those two distinct interests have been recognized since the earliest obscenity decisions in the court, and we're talking English common law incorporated into American Revolution, pre-Civil War, Civil War, and beyond. The two distinct interests the court said are curbing, quote, the corruption of the public mind in general, and protecting the manners of youth in particular. And so the state then has to define this obscenity from the perspective of the average adult or what's obscene to adults, but they can't prohibit adults from accessing speech that's inappropriate for children only. Doesn't that sound familiar? I mean, that's what this whole debate has been about HB 710 for years. They're saying that children are more susceptible to the harmful effects of sexually explicit content, and they're less able to appreciate the role it might play within a larger work. And then they're saying, hey, you can broaden Miller's definition of obscenity to cover that which is obscene from a child's perspective. And I say they, I mean the state. They may enact laws to prevent minors from accessing such content. And these are, I'm reading my quotes from the court here about what their holding is. They grappled with some of the earlier cases that were related to how to regulate this type of speech online, because the internet was growing at a crazy exponential pace. And by the time the American Booksellers Association case actually got up to appeal, it was 5 years later. And the court had already seen that the internet was drastically different at that time. And so a lot of this language from the older cases were like, well, the court says it's just going to apply to this case, the facts of this case. And so a lot of people have been taking that out of context and trying to use that rationale to guess what they're going to do now. And so this Free Speech Coalition versus Paxton case, although it's not directly related to the public library system, it's very enlightening on how the states have been instructed from the Supreme Court to go about regulating this and what standard they're going to have to meet in their regulation. So they're clearly adopting and approving and ratifying the proposition that the law can define material under the Miller test that's obscene as adjusted to minors, right? So I mean, that's very clear now from the Supreme Court in 2025. So we're going to be at intermediate scrutiny. And based upon that standard, the court also made some very interesting statements. One is, it follows, since the state has the power to shield children from sexually explicit conduct, and the First Amendment leaves undisturbed states' traditional power to prevent minors from accessing speech that's obscene from their perspective, that the power necessarily includes the power to require proof of age before an individual can access such speech. It follows that no person, adult or child, has a First Amendment right to access speech that is obscene to minors without first submitting proof of age. That's a pretty broad decree from the court. And I know I've heard things over the years about how draconian it is and how much censorship it is. And it's like Nazis and all this about where you're going to make them show their ID. And, you know, the Supreme Court said the state can do it. So it's up to the legislature now to come up with a policy of how do we want this actually to work in Idaho, right? And so right now we have this, we don't want harmful to minors material to be accessed by children. And then the library has to take a reasonable approach to prevent that. And then there could be a civil penalty if it doesn't. Alcohol, tobacco, lottery ticket, tattoo, body piercing, fireworks, driver's license, medication, handgun license, registered to vote and to marry. All those are age restrictions that have been upheld over the years by the court. And the court said, we're not going to change that for this issue because if we do strict scrutiny, all that goes away. All those are age restricted rights. And they're saying in this case that adults have no First Amendment right to avoid age verification to access this material. The only one that survived, the only case that survived, I'll forget that. That's too complicated. I'm just going to stick to the script here on this age verification issue. They treated Butler, Ginsburg, another case you probably heard, Reno and Ashcroft. We've talked about that before. They go through and they distinguish all of that to really explain, this is on page 12, you know, what the standard is and why that's important to the analysis here, because they're essentially doing a balancing test. They're trying to say, hey, we want the states to be able to regulate this conduct and exercise their authority, but it also has this incidental burden on an adult's rights under the First Amendment. And so the court's really trying to thread the needle here with how can the states protect the morals of the youth, to protect their minds and prohibit them from accessing this material without going too far to where it's going to create a serious burden on the adults' free speech rights. And the court also distinguishes the difference between political debate and then accessing explicit content. And that was another very important piece of their analysis. I thought they're still very protective of political debate, engaging the traditional forum where you can go out on the sidewalk and pretty much say whatever you want. And so I don't think they're going to go much further than what they've gone here in the Paxton case. And I think that this will preclude quite a few of the arguments that are being made related to access to information in the library context. And the interesting thing they say on page 15 is that their previous decisions concerned only outright bans, but this court has never before considered whether lesser burdens aimed at distinguishing children from adults directly regulate any free speech rights of adults. So this really is a seminal case that has implications for the library. as it relates to HB 710. So on 16, you can look at middle of the page, second paragraph A. HB 1181 is also sufficiently tailored to Texas's interest. Under intermediate scrutiny, a regulation is adequately tailored so long as the government's interest would be achieved less effectively absent the regulation, and the regulation does not burden substantially more speech than is necessary to further that interest. So unlike strict scrutiny, it doesn't need to be the least restrictive means, narrowly tailored to be the least restrictive means. And it doesn't turn on the court's agreement with the legislature concerning the most appropriate method for promoting the significant government interest or the degree to which those interests should be promoted. So under this intermediate scrutiny standard, the Supreme Court really is saying states, you know, we're gonna watch this if you burden an adult's rights to access First Amendment content. However, we're not going to tell you, you know, what the most appropriate method is, or we're also not going to step in and sort of tell you, oh, your policy went too far. So I'm seeing the court say we're going to give you broad discretion here to regulate this area of explicit content as it relates to minors, not only for online content, but at all. Let me see, there was one other point I wanted to bring up for you. The definition in the statute, if you look at section 6 on page 1, it would be paragraph 6. And it defines sexual material harmful to minors, very similar language to the Idaho statute, includes any material that average person applying contemporary community standards would find taking the material as a whole and with respect to minors is designed to appeal or pander to the prurient interest in a manner patently offensive with respect to minors, exploits as devoted to or principally consists of descriptions of actual simulated or animated displays or depictions of this bunch of sexual different types of acts. Taken as a whole, lacks serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value for minors. So it's essentially the Miller for minors test. It's the Miller test, it's conjunctive, and then it just says for minors. What this case doesn't do yet, and I think there will be maybe a couple of years stewing up through the appellate court, like we talked about, DC and the 11th and the 8th and the 5th, and they're talking about, is it government speech or did the ages matter? The court is kind of preemptively, they don't want to deal with it right now, but they're going like, hey, we're going to have to deal with a case when you're looking at a 13 versus a 15-year-old. You know, that's the next round. And I don't know what they would say about that, because a lot of the analysis has to do with minors as a whole, for minors. But kind of reading the Supreme Court's opinion here, I think they're going to have sort of a sliding scale, kind of like the library had 2 or 3 different age brackets. And it's going to be a balancing test, and it's going to be a case-by-case basis. I just really don't see a workable test where you compare a 17-year-old to a 5-year-old, right? And so that brings me to sort of my conclusion about what are the implications does it have for our library, is that harmful to minors in the statute, you know, means that standard of what is harmful to a 17-year-old, right? It's not, we place in the adults only restricted areas, something that might be offensive to a 5-year-old, but not a 13. And then the court's saying impliedly in that, if you want to bifurcate those younger zones into different areas of the library, you can, but it doesn't necessarily mean we should be putting that in the adult section, right? Because now we've got the 15-year-old that may want to access it. And so that's why we've been consistent this entire time where let's stick to the harmful to minors definition. And if it does meet that Miller's for minor test, then it can go in there. Doesn't have to, but it can. And the court also seems to indicate that, reading some of these older cases, that they're adopting the rationale, like where you block the magazine partially. They're saying, is that access? They're grappling with that in public spaces. And so I think there will be a case at some point where they go, if the book's on the shelf, is that enough? And the state certainly could pass that law and not have the adult access only area. But Paxton seems to stand for the proposition that they can do that. And even if we wanted to ratchet that back, it's still the state law. So I don't like the narrative around this debate to be imprecise and have people say, well, it's constitutional or unconstitutional when the state can have something that pushes the line more. It doesn't mean that it's unconstitutional, right? If another state, it doesn't have an adults only section, it's will the federal courts allow it, right? And then once the legislature puts that in, we have to follow it. So I would encourage you to, read the Paxton case, even though it's the online pornography, it's really, really enlightening to put these fundamental legal concepts of the First Amendment into perspective on where this debate is going to continue. And I brought this back up because I know we chatted about this issue months and months ago, but I was kind of revisiting this when we were going over some of our policies, and I was just thinking this would be great for the board. This is such a good case. It's well worth the read and well worth the time to understand intermediate scrutiny. And that obscene speech for minors is just not protected by the First Amendment. And so that's why the state could regulate it.
My question is, I guess, two things. Does this give us any more rights to remove harmful material as opposed from the library, as opposed to just putting them in this other section? Removal is what everything was centered on, almost to the legal action, as they were removing them from the library. Does this give removal of a basis? And then how does this affect our acquisition? Do you think it's anything about our acquisition policy where we're just saying we're not going to buy things? Don't we have the freedom to choose or to buy what we want?
Yeah, I would say we don't know yet how that acquisition rule will be looked at. Some courts are saying they're the same standard, some are not. But the budget issue is the real important thing about acquisition. You can't force us to buy a book, so you can't sue us because we didn't buy a book. But once you have a book, the hook is, the government disagrees with the message, and that's why they're removing it. So that's always going to be there. But it's a tiered inquiry to answer your question. The Supreme Court's giving the states the authority to regulate it. So it doesn't give us as the library more authority to go out and push the envelope or whatever. It's just telling the states, hey, if you want to make this your policy and you want to pass this as a law, you could require the libraries to do it, right? And so it doesn't automatically give, I would say it doesn't automatically give us any additional authority to do anything because the state law still exists, right? It just is an indicator of, is that exercise of authority by the state going to be allowed by the Supreme Court?
Any other questions? Okay, we're about 45 minutes behind schedule. It's done worse in the past, so that's not bad. And our executive sessions, I'm sure, will be very short, and we'll all go home early. All right. Let's see. Oh, we're going here. We're now on the response to public comment. This is our opportunity. Anyone has any response to the public comment they'd like to make? Trustee Addison.
Multiple comments at our budget meetings, previous regular meetings, and in the mainstream press are absolutely false. I won't name names as that would be an unchristian behavior, and the names don't matter anyway, as it is truth that is important. Some people are bent on making sure other people's innocent children have access to pornographic materials, and therefore hate and spare no opportunity to spread lies about the current Board of Trustees and the good administration of CLN. Despite their loud proclamations for love and tolerance for all, they really seem to be only for themselves and their alternative viewpoints. They seem to coordinate with each other to ensure that at least one of them is always here and share information with each other on what happened at the meeting, and meeting recordings are freely available online. So one could surmise that they perfectly well know what the truth is of what happened at meetings and are therefore purposely spreading lies. They don't seem to have any shame when they are caught in their lies. They then tell different lies or double down and get louder about the same lies. You know what they say about a lie told often enough. They use freedom as an excuse to promote grooming other people's children with materials that are so heinous that they've been illegal in all 50 states about the last 55 years to give to another person's child. And before that, no one would have survived the backlash of either publicly advocating publishing this filth for children or giving it to them. These extremely explicit materials groom children for sexual exploitation and a perverted life that leads to dis-ease, mental and physical health issues, and death. They also claim that we're banning, book burning, or censoring, when in reality these books are still available to adults but have been removed from the children's sections. Interestingly enough, previous administrations purchased and placed the vast majority of the worst of these heinous materials in the children's sections. They also claim that our director got a 20% raise, apparently for no other reason than just to waste taxpayer funds. The truth has been expounded upon in our public meetings that CLN deleted a vacant position, divvied up the vital responsibilities and salary of said position between multiple other positions. So it wasn't a new expense on taxpayers. I could go on, but that's sufficient now.
Bravo.
Thank you, trustee. Thank you, trustee Oxton. Anyone else responsible to comment? Okay,
Wait,
very good. Good. That's
I
right for now.
gotta leave it.
Okay,
5:15, 5:20.
all right, we'll move now on to item number 14 on the agenda, which is executive session. I entertain a motion to go into executive session pursuant to Idaho Code 74-2061C and F.
Should we extend the time before we go?
I don't think we need, I don't think we never make,
Okay.
there's no requirement, I don't think we make any extensions. Other than ourselves, if you agree to go on, I'm not aware of that. I don't think I've ever seen that in Robert rules, maybe it's there.
Okay, well, in that case, so moved.
Okay, that we can extend if you'd like, okay, so moved, it has been moved to go into executive session pursuant to Idaho Code 74-2061C and F. Is the roll call vote, all those in favor? Signify by saying aye.
Addison, aye.
I'm Banducci, aye.
Bauman, I.
Family aye. Oh, sorry. You guys have it, and that was executive session. We've come out of executive session and I guess we have to authorize it. No, we don't have any activity. No, there is no action. Okay.
No action.
So we come out of it. Do you need the times on that? I didn't write them down.
If
so-
it, we came out at 5:56.
Yes.
And we, went in at 4:59.
Of the second.
Of the second one, of the first one, we came out at 4:58,
Got it.
but I don't know what time we went in.
I got that.
Okay, you got that. Okay, good.
We're now, I guess, down to you got all your notes? Okay. We're now on item number 16, discussion of future agenda requests. I'm not aware of one right now. No one else in the moment? Very good. All right. And number 17, set special and regular meeting dates. Okay, at the bottom, it already shows our regular meeting date on September 17th at 2 till 5 at the Ratham Library. And I think we agreed earlier in a session, not an executive session, that we need to have a special meeting as well. And so we got to work on a date for that one. And trustee Plas, before he left, said he has a relatively flexible schedule, so he wasn't here to be involved. And so I guess this week is almost over. We're not going this week, so we can look at next week or the week after. So I'm open to suggestions on that.
I'm pretty sure that we agreed upon the 31st
Okay, okay,
at
31st.
10 a.m. at Hayden Library.
Does that work for people? 31st, at what time?
10 a.m.
Does that work?
at Hayden Library.
Does that work for everyone else?
I have to call in.
All right. Aiden. Did you get that one, Megan? Okay. Okay, so our next meeting will be a special meeting on August 31st at the Hayden Library, 10 a.m., okay? And I guess other than that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. It has been moved to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
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 Good job.
Ayes have it. This meeting is hereby adjourned.